Alright, oil change at 272,000 miles. Just kind of inspecting under the engine here. So in the front of the engine, so it looks like I have some type of oil seepage going on behind the crank there. So I'll continue to monitor that too. And I also have a leak. So I'm either suspecting the rear main seal possibly, or the transmission input seal. So yeah, that's interesting too. Up here, just on top above the oil pan. So this could be from my leaky valve cover. It's hard to tell. This is where it would drip down off the heat shield and down. So I'll monitor that. I know it's been leaking. My rear output seal's been leaking towards the behind the transmission. So that's another leak I'll have to deal with too as well. So doing the I don't know. I can't remember if this is the third or fourth oil change with Valvoline Restore and Protect. So this is the oil catch can. So this is a lot lower than the previous oil changes that it's collected. So I want to say this is probably less than an ounce right here. So we'll measure how much I actually caught. Now this is about close to half an ounce. So when I initially installed the old catch can, I was collecting pretty much almost an ounce every 3,000 miles. So on this oil change here, I got about a little over 6,000 miles on this oil change. And so right now I'm a little bit concerned that either my PCV is clogged, which I'll check a little later here, because this low of oil kind of has me wondering either the Valvoline Restore Protect is working really good and reduce all the blow-by, maybe perhaps from the valve ring, not the valve rings, but the piston rings sealing much better now, but we'll see later here. So looks like I got about 7 quarts out of this oil change. Now I did add about half a quart, maybe 1,000 miles or so ago. So that's again why I'm running to 6,000 miles to change this oil. So I'm not sure if that was a factor in this, but I'll take a look at the old video and compare. So not too long ago, I had washed the engine bay, and this here was a particular concern, and I had originally thought, well, it's still a possibility that the attachment here was loose and it's misting oil spray. So you can see here it's built up already again. I think I probably had put 1,000 miles since I did the valve covers. So you can see down there that this is all caked up. So I have some type of pressurized issue to where it's misting and seeping oil and building up in this general area here. So hopefully I'll figure that out soon. But right now I'm gonna go ahead and remove the PCV just to make sure it's not clogged. So I can just make sure that that's not the reason why my rear main, or possibly my rear main, is leaking. Okay, now I think this is the third oil filter since switching to Valvoline Restore and Protect. So this so the Valvoline Restore and Protect is doing its job, but I do see some shiny bits in between the filter pleats. Now this green stuff I'm seeing maybe marking paint for the bolts inside the valve cover, since I did replace the valve cover gaskets and tube seals. So I think they may be from the paint pins when they torque down the nuts on the heads and valves. But the Valvoline Restore and Protect is doing its job. It is removing bits and pieces of carbon buildup, which you can see in between the pleats. Now, like I said earlier, I do have some concerns. I am seeing some tiny specks, shiny specks, which I'm hoping is not metal or aluminum. So, I don't know if you can see that right there in the middle. So, again, now the valve covers was exposed to the elements when I was doing it. So, stuff may have fallen in, but I'm gonna send this oil off over to Blackstone, because that's where I've been sending my oil samples to. So there you go. We got little green specks right there. So I'm not too sure if that's from the paint pen marking the nuts and bolts when they torque them down. So more carbon buildup in between the pleats. More green stuff. So yeah, Valvoline Restore and Protect is doing its job. I don't know, more of that green stuff. Yeah, it could be just debris from being open outside doing the valve cover gaskets. Looks like just maybe residual gasket or FIPG flaking off. But the oil filter is doing its job. Valvoline Restore and Protect is doing its job cleaning up the carbon buildup. Now, hopefully, these little specks, shiny specks, are not bearing or piston or cylinder wall material. But Blackstone will confirm if it is or not, or maybe I need to send this in to them. But yeah, there you have it. There's the oil. Feel free to comment. PCV valve removal. So I may have to replace the tubing here because the thing was as hard as a rock, and then this here wasn't much of any use. I just pulled it out without too much of a resistance. And then PC valve, it's a 22 millimeter, so I just used a half-inch breaker bar with a 7/8 deep socket just to loosen it. It's just barely hand tighten on there, so you don't want to break it or anything like that. It's very, very loose. So it's rattling, so it's working. Very minimum buildup on the bottom, so I'll just kind of wipe it down. So it looks like the PCV is working. So I'm just testing it, so I'm blowing into it, so it should block. So remember, this is positive, so you should be blowing air out. So blowing it locks it, I can't blow past it, and then if I blow it this way out, it should release. Yep, that works. Nice oily taste. So just got to figure out where this oil buildup is coming from. I'm wondering if the valve, the intake manifold is leaking. But yeah, we'll find out once I pull that off and see. You can see that buildup right there. Okay. Alright, 6,074 miles on this oil change. 272,695 miles. And then I'm just going to reset the maintenance.